pandemic got us into a reflective space and made us look inward to see what we can do for the world at large. As a self-expression coach, I became a catalyst for women and started Vani, a one-on-one coaching program for women on finding their voice, to speak up, to be visible. As a storyteller, I spotted there were many ordinary people amongst us leading extraordinary lives, making a difference to the world, and they needed to be heard. Thus was born You and I with Rashmi Shetty, where amazing personal journeys with their uniqueness and individuality are showcased, a reaffirmation of the fact: open your eyes wider. The world is far more beautiful when we acknowledge the presence of both you and I. Our guest today is Miss Sunita Bajaj, a child development consultant, TEDx speaker, and a behavioral guidance counselor. In a career spanning over 25 years in the education industry, Sunita has worked with industry leaders, edtech companies, school heads, school and college students and teachers, offering both individual and group counseling, teacher capacity building programs, and designing curricula for teacher training and pre-primary years. She works passionately with all stakeholders to raise awareness about mental health issues and engages multiple levers to help children and their parents to identify, tackle, and resolve these issues. Sunita is committed to holistic child development and education, keeping in mind social, emotional, physical, and intellectual uniqueness of each child. Listen in as she shares her observations and inputs into better parenting, relationships, and ways to create a happy space in relationships. Hi, Sunita. It's such a pleasure meeting you now after speaking to you on the phone. But I loved your TED Talk. And I thought, post that TEDx conversation that you had with your audience on mental health, you needed to be here. Thank you so much for agreeing to share your life's journey, and this amazing space that you have created for yourself on mental health. But before we
Thank
get
you.
there, I would want to know what little Sunita was like. Because in your TED Talk and otherwise, you sound so calm, composed, completely in control, very detached. Were you like this as a little girl as well?
No, I was wild. Wild in the not in a negative sense, but I was very active, always participating in things, jumping around the house, playing all the time. So I had a very active, a very involved, very engaged childhood. You wouldn't find me sitting behind a desk. I loved reading, that I did at night, but I was not calm and composed.
Okay, good to know. So, where did you grow up, and how was little Sunita as a student? Were you somebody who was like in all possible activities, completely a child teachers admire?
So I grew up in Delhi. I grew up in a household. More importantly, more important than the geographic location is the ecosystem I grew up in. So the ecosystem I grew up in, my household, my friends, our family, friends, relatives, it was the hub where everybody, the connector, some households are like that connect. My parents developed an environment in the house where everybody was welcome at any time of the day. So my father, being a surgeon, it had to be an open door policy, and it was an open door policy for anybody, whether it's somebody with a medical condition or whether somebody who just wants to drop in for a cup of tea. And right from childhood, I think right from day one, I grew up in a space where everybody was included. It was an inclusive environment, whether it's the milkman or it's a well-to-do businessman, or it's a relative from a from a village, everybody was welcome and accepted. I grew up learning empathy, engaging in activities that would help others, that would support others. A lot of voluntary work. Being a surgeon, used to hold eye camps, used to do a lot of volunteering work for Lions Club, and as kids, we would pitch in everywhere. So that was the kind of environment I grew in, and it came naturally to me to enter into a space that was related to helping another human being. And from the beginning, I've been very, bent towards children. I love children and engaging with them, playing with them. So whoever came to the house and had a baby didn't have to bother for 2 minutes also, because they knew that she's there and that's it. She's going to be the caretaker for whatever time we are there in their house. So that was the kind of personality and bent that I grew up with, and the kind of parenting I got. And therefore, it came naturally to me when I entered into the counseling space. First of all, I had a choice of specialization in my master's, and I took up child development again for the same reason, that I just love kids, love being around them.
Was your basic graduation in psychology before you moved into child development?
It was part of my third year specialization. And then I moved into a master's which was again child development. And then I also did another master's in counseling and family therapy. So I haven't deviated much from that core competency right from day one, if you so to speak. So it's been in and around those kind of activities, my work and my life. So it never seemed like I have to learn to do this. It came naturally to me.
Okay. And as a student, were you somebody who was absolutely an all-rounder in school, teacher's pet, your classmates envy?
I wouldn't say teacher's pet, but yes, I was very engaged in extracurricular activities. So I tried my hand at everything. I tried my hand at instruments. I tried my hand at singing. I tried my hand at sports. I tried my hand at drama. I tried my hand everywhere. Whatever there was on offer, I would be there. So if somebody came into the class that we are starting this club, we are starting this activity, this event is coming in the school, who would want to participate? My hand would always be up. I would want, whether I got selected or not was another thing, but I always volunteered to go for it.
Was it because you were a curious bent of mind, or you just wanted?
I just wanted to be there where the action was, the real action.
Okay.
So I just, like I said, I wasn't calm and composed.
No, Sunita, but for somebody like that to move into a calm space of counseling and child development is something which came as a surprise to you or people around you? Or was it a very natural progression? What shifted from the child who wanted to be there everywhere to somebody who, as you bloomed into an adult, wanted to get into the calmer space of listening to others and the counseling space?
It's not just about me. Anybody who likes to engage with another human being has to be a good listener. Otherwise, you can't. So, like I said, it came naturally to me. I would make friends very easily. And to be socially healthy, active listening is a critical skill. And that's what I had. I loved people, to cut a long story short. And I still do. Coming into a space where what was required of me was to empathize, to walk in the shoes of the person sitting in front of me, to see the world from their perspective. That is what I did professionally. I guess I was hardwired for it.
Clearly, you were. Now you specialize in this space of young adults. When did that happen? From child development, when you moved on into counseling, when did young adults come into the picture? Because today, yes, post-pandemic mental health of young adults is a topic everyone's talking about. And people are okay to understand and accept that yes, young adults have uh, issues which, when not tackled when they're younger, do spring up as later problems. But what brought you into that space much before the world started talking about that?
I haven't only been engaging with young adults, Rashmi. Childhood spreads from 0 to 18. So it's been the entire spectrum. Now people have started talking more about young adults being a separate, going through mental health issues. They've started. I believe that is more because they're expected to deliver by the time they're at that age. Once they don't, then everybody's antenna go up that what happened, what is happening, what is wrong, so to speak. So I believe that is why they come in more into focus. It's also a transition period between childhood and adulthood. So that's why. But if you ask me, and if you look at the statistics, it is not just young adults who are going through this very difficult mental condition, I would say. 1 in 7 is supposed to be either distressed or depressed. And that is not a small number. I mean, that means that in a class of 35, there are so many of them. Every class, every section. So you can imagine how widespread this problem is now. I'm not saying it's only post-pandemic, it was there earlier also, but obviously the pandemic has blown it up into astronomical proportions, and it's trickled down to children, it's gone up to adults, even the elderly. So distress and mental distress and depression has really, seeped into the fabric of mental fabric of human beings across the globe. Actually, it's not just restricted to India.
Very true. That the spectrum from 0 to 18, are the seeds for all of this sown pretty early in life, Sunita? Since you,
Absolutely.
yeah,
See, 0 to 5 is the time where the brain develops at a pace which it will never develop later in life. The pace at which it grows and goes, that's the fastest. So by the time the child is 5, their brain in volume is about 90% of what it will be as adults. Imagine the capacity and the ability of this little human being who is 0 to 5 years of age, who's in that age bracket, and how much that brain is developing, those capacities are developing, and the pace at which that they're developing at that age, that lays the foundation for later development. Things like, I'll give you a small example. When a child is playing with the parent, small game of peekaboo, naming games, copy me, the parent does something and the child copies them. And a simple game like copycat makes so many connections. One builds empathy through that. Naming games like, this is a ball, and this is a cat, and this is a book, develops vocabulary, it develops attention, and the basic act of engaging with the child develops so many connections, right from age 0, right from actually while the child is in the mother's womb. And our scriptures, our ancient knowledge talks about it, and talks about it in amazing detail. It's about time that we as parents and teachers and people who engage with children actually start practicing that. Unfortunately or fortunately, no matter, when you're talking about engagement and quality time, was a term that really became popular a few years ago. And parents say, no, kar to rahe hai, we watch TV together. We spend a lot of time with our teenagers. But are you spending time with your teenager? Are you spending time with your baby? No, this child, my baby loves to watch cartoons. So we put that screen in front. Now, this is a brain which is developing. It wants to engage. It doesn't want to look at a screen. Screen doesn't give you engagement. The brain, the child is using their arms, using their hands, using their body, learning attachment, learning to touch, getting to know the world. How can anybody expect all of that to happen through a screen? I'm not saying screens are bad, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying technology is bad, but use it wisely. And like you said, the comment that you made, are all the foundations laid in childhood? Yes. So I can't tell parents and teachers enough this particular statement which I'm going to make now, and that is that children are natural learners.
So, in that case, when there is so much of engagement that is required for the child that is growing up, you said parenting plays a very big role. Can you give some examples of some typical seeds that are sown in the child's life to create that trauma that shows up much later when the child is an adult or a teen?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I'll give you a very simple example of parenting. I also advocate consistency a lot. Imagine this scenario when the child is at home and the parent comes in and the child is jumping on the sofa and the parent is in a lovely mood. They've had a good day at work, they are feeling healthy, they are happy, they're not hungry, all their physiological needs are met, and they come home happy in a good space, mental space, and the child is jumping. And what does the parent do? The parent holds the child's hand and says, "Oh yeah, let's continue with this. Jump, 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 jump." 4-year-old jumping on the sofa, lovely fun that the parent and the child have. Cut to another day where the parent has had a bad day at work or has come back from outside tired, hungry, dirty, doesn't want to, just wants peace, and the child is jumping on the sofa. What do you imagine would happen in this scenario?
Huge whack or scolding and asking the child to get off the
Right.
sofa.
And put yourself in the child's shoes.
Yeah.
From the child's perspective, what just happened is the reaction. Yesterday, the same person was encouraging this activity. And today, they are, through their actions, telling me that no, this is not all right. And what would the child think? What would they get from these two interactions? Confusion. Yeah. There is no clear message which is coming through. Yeah. That whether this is okay for me to do and this is not okay for me to do. And this is a very simple example I'm giving you of a younger child, but the same is true for many interactions between parents and children and teachers and children, where the child gets mixed messages. Okay, I'll give you another one. Let's go 0 to 6. This is about communication. I'm giving you examples of things which do not communicate a clear message. The teacher is teaching something in a preschool and she tells the child, sit properly. This is a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old that you're talking about. 4-year-old maybe, 5-year-old maybe. And the teacher says, sit properly, and doesn't qualify what properly means. And this child maybe changes their position, trying to understand, read between the lines as to what is it that this person is trying to tell me. You know what I mean? So when it comes to raising children, communication, connection, clarity are very important to lay the foundations. Children about 10 to 12 years of age sometimes, not sometimes, many times I've had parents sitting in front of me and saying that this child is abusive. Gali seekh liye hai. And I don't know from where they are learning it. The first thing I always tell the parents who come to me with this problem is, put a mirror in front of you and in front of all the family members. Does anybody in the house use language like that. हाँ वो उसके पापा कभी कभी बोल देते हैं, हाँ वो उसके दादा बोल देते हैं, the grandmother or the mother, so there will be somebody in the house who's using it, and none of the other family members object to it, because this is a person in power, is one of the main members of the family, and person against whom people cannot speak up. So the message the child gets, it's okay to do it. The child is not old enough to understand the dynamics. Why is this person, it's okay for this person to do it, and why it's not okay for me to do it. But the message the child gets is, it's okay to do this and use these words. So all the foundations of adult life are laid, Rashmi, in childhood. Whether it is language, whether it is to do with empathy, whether it is to do with resilience. A child sees a mother, breaking down, or a fight happening, or somebody taking an extreme step, something extreme happening, maybe a suicide happening, or somebody hurting themselves, or just leaving the house, or a milder step like not talking to the family. Why? Because somebody scolded them. So they learn those behavior patterns. That to deal with your mental condition, stop talking to others. And we see that in adult life. I'm sure you can think of some examples from your family and friends. Nahi, agar acha nahi hai, I'm not feeling okay, somebody's done something bad to me, I will, clam up, or I will start shouting. You see meltdowns happening in adult life also. We only talk of temper tantrums in childhood, but I'll see a lot of adults throwing temper tantrums around me.
A part of the reality of relationships as they grow older is when people do vent emotions. So you can't safeguard a child from these kind of emotional outbursts, because this is reality. So therefore, the child gets to see a spice of what life can be. Or should we make it like completely child proof, in front of the child, not have any outbursts, and only when the child is not around do it? So what kind of parenting would you suggest? Has parenting changed over the years, Sunita, that today's generation, like, another question that comes along with it is, the previous generation had 8 kids, 6 kids, 4 kids in the family. Today it's just one kid, and
Hmm.
the kid is really entitled. The kid points out to something, and that thing is given to the child. So
Yeah,
is
I
this
think you've answered your own question. And it's also something which I mentioned in the beginning of this conversation, is that let the child be.
yeah.
If you ask the mother now, there'd be grandmothers of those 12 children, that how did you raise these children? I'm sure I've asked that question to many grandmothers and great grandmothers. And more often than not, the response I've always got is, हमने तो ये सब नहीं किया जो तुम कर रहे हो.
Yeah.
We never did this.
Yeah.
बच्चे तो हो गए अपने आप बड़े. So they let them be. Children are very creative. They are very resilient. They are natural learners. Because we have one now, so we feel that this child will not be able to do it without our help. The child needs your help. They need your love. They need your attachment. They need your support. They need your guidance. But up to a certain point, what we are doing nowadays is trying to manage, manipulate, guide, and control, I'm saying with big capital letters, every moment of the child's waking life, which is why things are going wrong. You won't believe, Rashmi, there are multiple cases that come to me where parents put their children in tuitions, mind you, no less, in preschool. Yes. What is it that the tuition teacher is teaching them? A, B, what? Tie your shoelaces? What? What is it going on? What is going on there? The child comes back at 2, takes a snack, and from 3 to 7, again the child is in a space where some adult is guiding them. Classes hai, coding classes hai, and dance class hai. Where is the space for the child to develop naturally, to be creative. They are going through what we call a beautiful period in their life, a formative period in their life called childhood. But are we letting them be children? Today's parenting is guiding and honing the child from the shoulder up. The rest of it is ignored more often than not. I'm not saying always. There are parents who are very aware of nurturing the entire human being that they have the responsibility to nurture the entire. When I say the entire, means top to bottom, head to toe. But more often than not, what we are concerned about is shoulder up. वो पढ़ रहे हैं कि नहीं, उनके मार्क्स आ रहे हैं कि नहीं, वो ठीक से समझ आ रहा है कि नहीं बच्चे को. There's a lot of fear I see, Rashmi, nowadays in parenting. Parents are scared.
Yeah, they're scared of what? They're scared that they have just one child. So what if the child fails? It's a huge reflection of the parenting. And therefore, in order to make sure the child doesn't turn out a failure, they are overprotective and put the child in every possible class, tuitions, so that the child does well. So
Which brings me to, actually, I can ask. Can I ask a question?
Yeah. Sure, do.
Which brings me to reflect with you on the kind of skills that we are trying to equip our children with. We are raising them for a future that we cannot envision. It is actually an unforeseeable future. I don't know what the world is going to be 5 years from now. I have no clue. 5 years ago, I didn't know that I would be sitting at home ordering food and ordering things online and booking tickets online, maybe 10 years ago, not 5. But the way that things are changing, to presume the STEM skills that the children are learning in school will be of use in the future is actually, it's a strong word. It's foolishness to think that.
True, true, Sunita. So now that you've asked me this question, let me put it back to you. In such unclear times when we have no clue what tomorrow would be like or 2 years down the line, and today with the AI, we don't even know what 1 month down the line we're going to have. In such situations, what do parents do? Let the child be. If the child just needs a little guidance, I'm speaking now devil's advocate from the parent side. If the parent is putting the child in tuition, the parent's only intention is maybe the child needs help, which I can't give, to be up with the rest in the class, maybe not at the top, but at least average and above. Because today, college entrance exams require like a percent to get it if you want a good college.
But is everybody made for college?
Now that is tough.
Yeah, that is tough. See, why I brought that up was that, see, when it comes to streams of study, the hierarchy has always been very clear. It's science, and then in India, it's commerce, and then the arts.
Yeah.
But I would strongly advocate all of that, the math, the science, and the arts, to be given equal weightage. Because the arts, they not only help with the science and the math, but they touch areas of the personality or the human being that are not even approached by the so-called scientific disciplines.
Yes.
And if you want results, you need to use the entire ability, the entire spectrum of abilities that the child is capable of, instead of just using their ability to think logically, ability to memorize, ability to sit for long periods of time, ability to churn out a good result in a test. You need to use all the abilities that the child is capable of, which includes those which do not directly bring you academic success. I agree with you. It's a very hard. I'll give you my own example. Now, my younger one, when she passed school, she got into a few of the most top institutes of the country. She went there And she also got selected in a very prestigious program. Believe you me, Rashmi, she went to two of those, and any parent would, chadhao prasad if their child gets selected in those institutes. And after a week, she came back and said, "No, I want to be a musician." My heart sank. I'm being very candid with you here. End of the day, one thinks that you reached here through whatever means, and you worked hard, you've worked your butt off, and you've reached here, and now you want to leave it all for a profession where there is no guarantee, so to speak. But then we sat and thought about it, and due to my training or due to the open-minded that the family has, we said, yeah, go ahead. Does it make you happy? Yes. Will you be able to take it forward? Yes. Do you think you have the skill set for it? Yes. I am naturally inclined towards being a musician, being a singer. I said, yeah, go for it. Take it. So, who are we to limit our children to follow our dreams? I'm again talking as a parent because you wanted me to talk as a parent. The question was directed more towards parents. So I am giving you an example from my own life. Who are we to limit them? She's happy today. She's working for one of the top music schools, doing amazing work, earning money. So that's another big fear in a parent's mind. कि ये पैसे कैसे कमाएंगे? इतनी महंगाई है. How will they manage? How will they become independent? हम इनको बैठ के खिलाएंगे क्या सारी उम्र? So these are dialogues which I've heard parents speak, sitting in front of me, and just sharing their fears. And these are real fears. It is reality. Everybody doesn't have the kind of resources and to give support to their children. But then again, we are forgetting that whatever drives you and makes you happy, once you put a child in that space, you don't need to teach a child anymore. They learn. Once you fire the fire in the belly, you light that fire in the belly, then the motivation comes. You don't have to wake your child up in the morning. Chalo, utho, tuition ka time ho gaya. They will wake up on their own. No, I want to do this. So once the want to comes in, then you can easily take a back seat, and the rest they'll handle on their own.
Yeah.
So
So
we
the
need to tackle our own fears. Yeah.
Yeah. So for you, Sunita, at that point when your daughter took that decision, must have been a very difficult moment, at least for a short while, in spite of all the meetings you have with other parents and the counseling you give them. There may have been moments of you questioning your own self at that point of time, as in, oh my God, what is this? Or maybe you just took it positively and you let her be.
No, I'll be very honest. It was not a stress-free transition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what pushed you? Was it just your training or the fact that she was happy? Because there are many parents who go through these moments where the child takes a decision completely contrast to what the investment of the parent was in the education. And
True.
at
If
that
we
time,
reflect upon our own careers, Rashmi,
yeah.
mostly, I wouldn't say mostly, but very often we are doing things which we haven't trained for. Yeah. So, as adults, if we are doing that, how do we expect to predict this child's future? That you put this child in an engineering course, or the child is learning visual arts, or the child is the father is a graphic designer and wants the child to be a graphic designer. But what is the guarantee that your child is going to create a career on this graphic design? It doesn't make him happy. He'll go, वो सुबह जाएगा और करके शाम को पैसे लेके आ जाएगा. But again, there will be a certain psychological, financial dependence on you as a parent, and which it will also lead to poor mental health. Yeah. And poor physical health in the long run. So, is that our goal? Are we raising our children to follow our dreams and to follow our footsteps? Or are we raising them to be self-confident, confident enough to create a space for themselves? And they do. Believe you me, they do. It's just that since we can't predict the future, we are afraid of it. But the minute you hold back your fears, hide them, or package them, and ship them off to Timbuktu, and say to the child that, yes, I have confidence in you. I have confidence in your abilities. रास्ते निकल आते हैं. You will find your space. Just do what makes you happy. The minute we do that, the kind of confidence that is instilled in the child, and you see them lighting up. You say that to your child today and see the reaction. They light up, and they feel so safe in this space that, yes, my parents will support me no matter what.
Yeah, that's really true. And talking about such children, have you in your practice, Sunita, do you have a story of a child who the parents didn't think would do much because of the performance or the choices or the friend circle which influenced, and over a period of time, the child found his footing or her footing and ended up being something which nobody expected the child to turn out to be?
Oh, yes, many such examples. We were in Hyderabad, and there was this girl, and the parents were pushing and pushing and pushing her to do science. In the South, it's all about science. Yeah. So they were just, and she just didn't want to do it. She was like, she was failing, she was crying, she would come and sit. She was she would come and sit with me and tell me that this is something I don't want to do, but my parents just aren't listening. So I sat the parents down, I told them, I gave examples of my own children, and I don't know, must have got through to them. They let her be, they let her enter into an architectural course, and she's really happy today. She's doing what she loves. Another child I'll tell you about. Again, same thing. Science, science, science. नहीं ली तो मतलब क्या हो जाएगा? It's like something to be ashamed of. कि humanities ले ली है. But I'm at the same time saying that this scenario is changing nowadays. I'm talking about the choice which was made about 5 years ago. Again, same thing, but I was able to get through to the parents, and now this child took up a course in design, natural artist, beautiful, and is doing very well in his job, enjoying the job, creating on a daily basis, which this person would not have been able to do had they taken up, a creative arts are different from what a person, from the creativity that the person uses in scientific disciplines. So, but they were, so you have to kind of see a child objectively, your own child. And another thing I'd like to say here, Rashmi, is that uh, please don't compare your children. I ask you today, like, even if we as adults think that are we the same as our siblings? We are not. We have different abilities and different skill sets and different personalities. And sometimes parents fall into this rut of saying that your elder sibling has done this, why can't you? Your younger sibling is doing this, why can't you? So they have to understand that these are two different and very individual personas growing up in your one household. You have to treat them differently. You have to give them their own space. It's not, one size fits all. It doesn't.
That's true. That's very true. And in fact, that is the age group of young adults also that you're dealing in with day in and day out.
Yeah.
What? And mental health need not always be that they did not get what they want or they face disappointment. There could be a scientific reason or a medical reason also behind a mental health problem. So,
That's that takes you into an entirely different space.
Yeah.
What we are
Yeah.
talking about is what to do so that situation doesn't arise.
Correct.
When
So
it comes to a physiological problem, that I agree with you but that's a totally different ballgame.
true, true. So for a parent, in order to make sure that they're giving the child a secure upbringing, and today both parents need to work in order to give a comfortable life because education is also expensive. So in that scenario, how do parents get out of that guilt trap of not overindulging such that the child gets completely spoiled on the one hand with never hearing no, and then when life throws the disappointment, the child can't take it, to understanding the mid-level? Is that again a parenting thing, a teacher thing? How do you help this child cope with disappointment?
So unfortunately, you may have heard this before, but I'm just repeating it. Parenting is one job for which there is no training, right? So you are thrown into the deep end and you're expected to perform and bring results. Uh, and nobody taught you how to do that. So coming back to your statement here, that should be then, how do we stay in the middle, not towards the ends of the spectrum where you're on one end you're completely indulging and or on the other end completely ignoring. So that's I would say that's not an easy thing to do. It's a daily effort. I will not use the word struggle. It's a struggle if you don't want to do it. But if you want to do it, then it reflects on your face, it reflects on the little time that you have with your child, it reflects in your interactions, it reflects in your conversations. And conversely, if you don't want to do it, if it's a burden for you, that also reflects in all your interactions, all your decisions about your child, whether you are willing to give them their space, whether you are spending 10 minutes and even that seems a burden to you, that, oh God, I wanted to do something else in these 10 minutes. And here is this little human being whom I have created. I don't know what got into me. Why did I do this? And now I have to spend these 10 minutes with this person. And I'm supposed to do something of which I have no clue. So the bottom line is whether you want to do it or not. And that makes all the difference. So you are happy when the child is happy, and you're empathetic when the child is upset. You try to and learn to and teach yourself to see what is going behind the behavior that the child is exhibiting. The child is being aggressive. Is it because they want to be aggressive, they are mean and evil? Or is it because they want your attention? The child is acting out. Why is this happening? The child is refusing to eat. Why is this happening? Look for the reason behind it. And it's always a very simple reason. It's never complicated. Even if the child is older, 10-year-old, 15-year-old, the reasons are always simple. Listen. Be a listener. Be empathetic. See, these children, the children in the age group of the Gen Z is what you call them, from maybe 2000 to till 2012, they've grown up. Now, these children are growing up in a world which even we are trying to tackle as 40 plus somethings, and their world and their challenges are very different from what we had as when we were growing up. I'm not saying that we didn't have our challenges, we did, but their world demands a lot from them. There's so much information readily available. We had to go to the library or buy a book to get that bit of information, but for them it's a click of a button. So the kind of skills and that we need to equip them with are very different from the kind of skills that, not very different, but different from the kind of skills that our parents equipped us with. So these children need to learn discretion, when to stop, when not to go for something, how to resist negative peer pressure, how to be collaborative, how to, the 21st century skills is what they really need to, how to be resilient. See, these issues of mental health that are coming in are one because of the confusion that their ecosystem is putting them in. They're not able to decipher it. And number two, it's also because they are unable to be resilient. They're unable to process all that is coming their way. You see teenagers getting into relationships, breaking up, and that is such a traumatic event in their lives. So the world that we grew up in, most of us never went into that space. Some of us did, but most of us didn't. It was one per man or one woman, and that was it for the rest of our lives. But they are one aping the West to getting into a space where they are honestly not equipped to handle, and we are not equipped to guide as parents, I'm saying, because we don't have the wisdom which comes, which you gather over the years to guide our children through that space. So some of it they learn from the internet. Again, they need to be discreet. They need to have the ability to sift out the wrong and keep the right. So for that, as a parent, what can we do? We need to be patient. We need to be listeners. We need to create a safe space in the house where the child feels that this person is going to listen to me and not judge me. Again, we try to impose our values and everything on these children, but I will say it again that their world is very different. So we need to understand the next generation first before we try to guide them. And as parents, lending a sympathetic, empathetic ear is very important in today's day and age. Keeping the communication channels open. Removing that fear from the child's mind कि अगर मम्मी को पता लग गया तो क्या होगा? कुछ नहीं होगा. She's there for you, whatever you are going through. अगर पापा को पता लग गया कि मेरा बॉयफ्रेंड है तो क्या होगा? The child needs to know कि कुछ नहीं होगा. It's okay. We get you. So I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, to a major extent, but like you said, each parent comes with her or his own challenges, and parenting has no training school. So I think, and right here, since you are in that reflective space, Sunita, I'd like to ask you about the pandemic. The pandemic hit us at a time when we least expected, and everyone went into their reflective spaces. What did it do to you?
What did it do to me as a person?
Yeah, as a person.
Oh, okay. All right. As a person, obviously, I also went into it was a bit of a shock initially. So first of all, like for everybody, for me as well, it was all about survival, that we should not contract this virus because people were dropping dead like flies around us. It was actually happening like that in India. So it was all about self-preservation initially, creating a system in the house where everybody followed those sanitization and this and that, and then doing things where we didn't even know it's going to work or not. So, like everybody else, we were also in that space. Then, secondly, the second challenge was to keep a positive atmosphere at home. Suddenly, all the members were thrown into each other's personal space more than they have ever been throughout their lives, throughout their my married life, my in-laws. I've never spent so much time with my in-laws or with my husband, so to speak, than I did during the pandemic, and my children. So a lot had to do with creating. It had to do a lot with creating a personal space in the house for everybody. One, that's how we dealt with it. Keeping it positive. So a lot of singing happened, a lot of dancing happened, a lot of I was able to I also saw in my neighborhood, we live in a society where the houses, it's a villa kind of place. So so a lot of, I could see the fear in the neighbors when I saw them in the balcony waving and all that. So one thing I did during that time, and this is, we're segueing into a space that really is not in the purview of this talk, but I'll share it anyway. You can cut it out if you like. Um, so what I did was every evening, so in the WhatsApp group, that was a huge help in the community, just to create a positive feeling in the community. I started playing for 1 hour on the, I would put a speaker outside and I notified the community, I'm going to play these songs for 1 hour in the evening. Come to your balconies and, look out. See, I'm here. I can see that you are there. So that was a time when everybody was so scared and feeling so alone and cut off. So that 1 hour did miracle. It was miraculous to see the first the fear on everybody's faces, and then the smiles on everybody's faces. And by the time we reached to day 40, and I remember we went up to day 56, I would create a different song list for every day and take suggestions from people. What do you want to hear? Somebody would say something devotional, somebody would say Bollywood, somebody would say Devanand. So I still have those song lists. So 56 days we did that, and it really helped to create a positive mindset in my mind, my family's mind, and also be able to contribute to some bit of positivity in the neighborhood also, in addition to. So that is some of the few things that we did, I did personally and we did as a family to navigate through that difficult period of time.
And talking about positivity, anything for positive parenting that you'd like to leave us with before we move into life lessons?
I think the entire conversation has been about positive parenting. It's about listening, be there for your child in a non-judgmental, in in a non-judgmental way, in a way where the child doesn't fear you. You are you as a parent, and I don't mean you when I say you, I mean parents are the first adults and the guides that you are the inner voice. Just go with the flow, that with the thought that what you are saying is going to resonate and echo inside your child's head throughout their life, whether they're aware of it or they're not. If we sit and reflect and think, what is it that echoes through my head? It's my parents' voice, it's my parents' values, it's my parents' the statements that they made at different points in their life. And that's what's going to happen to your child. Be careful about what you say. be empathetic, have fun with your children. Don't take parenting as a burden. Yeah, and you don't have to complicate your life. कि मुझे ये भी करना है, वो भी करना है, वो भी करना है. Fear of missing out is something you really need to deal with. Keep it simple. It doesn't matter if a child doesn't have the best Nike shoes, the latest mobile. I don't think they need a mobile, but that's another story. But especially the younger ones don't. Keep them off screens. Play a board game instead. And literally play with them, be with them, talk to them, engage with them, communicate with them. Again, if you are like, I'll give you an example. I used to talk to my girls. So I would, tell them jokingly that, has love already happened? Mom, they would say, why are you asking me this question? And then one fine day, one of them did come up and say to me, Mom, I'm in a relationship. So I said, good. So she's like, oh, I told you. You didn't react. I said, so what if you're in a relationship? Tell me, let me meet this boy. So your reactions are what's going to communicate to your child and tell them. You don't have to tell them that I am not okay with you talking about this. I am not okay with you doing this. They will know. The kids are very perceptive. Even a baby will know. They pick up the vibes. Your teenagers and your young adults will definitely know. So your body language, they're smart enough to read all of that. So be in a space where we're in an inclusive space where you accept your child just the way they are.
Sunita, I would have normally said, okay, I want more from you, so 3 life lessons. But I think you've given us more of how to be amazing human beings more than the roles that we play. And I think that mutual respect that we give a fellow human being is where parenting starts with a beautiful foundation. Thank you so much. Honored to have had you on You and I with Rashmi Shetty. This is such a beautiful conversation, and God bless you, Sunita. May you continue to thrive and make the difference, especially in a space where the number of people currently on are less and more people need not join, because we are going to create a more beautiful world around us. I think as parents, we set the foundation at home. There's a lot beautiful out there for the children to see in the world that God has created. So thank you so very much. And
thank you very much for having me, Rashmi. It was a pleasure talking to you. And I was really honored to be your podcast. Thank you so much for having me here.
Take care. With that, we come to the end of this weekly quest of You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Do let us know if you know people who make the world beautiful. Write in to rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. That is rashmi.thhirdeye@gmail.com. Come. Let's explore this amazing world together, both you and I.